Donald Trump's high school record was nothing special. Average grades, a lot of swagger, not much substance. Yet he still landed at the prestigious Wharton School of Business. According to his niece, Mary Trump, Donald didn't get there on his own merit. His SATs were taken by a paid stand-in. His application was padded by privilege. From the very beginning, Donald learned the lesson that would define his career. When you can't win fairly, you cheat, and then you call it success. And before we dive deeper into Fred Trump and his relationship with Donald, let's take a step back to see where the Trump fortune really began. Donald's grandfather, Friedrich Trump, came to the United States from Germany in 1885. He wasn't an inspiring immigrant story. He was a fugitive, dodging Bavaria's mandatory military service. When he tried to return years later, German officials expelled him, branding him a draft dodger. In America, Frederick found his fortune during the gold rush, running restaurants and hotels in Seattle and the Yukon. But these weren't just restaurants. They doubled as brothels. Local histories make clear the Trump seed money came from exploiting sex workers and minors. So from the very beginning, the Trump family story was tied to dodging responsibility, exploiting others, and turning vice into profit. Fred Trump inherited that money and built it into a New York real estate empire. But Fred avoided his own call to service. During World War II, while the other men his age were drafted, Fred stayed home. He claimed his work as a builder was essential wartime industry. Instead of fighting, he profited, constructing military housing with federal subsidies that padded his fortune. So just like his father before him, Fred Trump avoided the draft and turned government programs into personal gain. At home, Fred ruled with an iron fist. Racist and anti-Semitic remarks were everyday language. He himself was arrested at a KKK rally in 1927. Donald's niece, Mary, later said she wasn't surprised because cruelty and exclusion were ingrained in the household.
New York Times report long ago in 1927 that your grandfather, Donald Trump's father, Fred Trump, was arrested at a Ku Klux Klan riot in Queens, New York. The article is subtitled "Klan Assails Policemen." It reports that 1,000 Klansmen and 100 policemen staged a free-for-all battle. It lists Fred Trump with his address as one of 7 men who were arrested and arraigned for the assault.
Donald's mother told him he was special and untouchable. Fred drilled into him that compassion was weakness, and only winning mattered. Together, they raised a boy who believed rules didn't apply to him. As Donald came of age, the Vietnam War was raging. Nearly 60,000 Americans would die there. Most young men had no escape. Donald Trump did. He received 5 deferments. 4 were for college. The 5th, the one that kept him home permanently, was a medical exception for bone spurs in his heels. But Donald had been remembered as a star athlete in school, excelling at baseball and football. No one recalled him having trouble walking. The letter that saved him came from a Queens podiatrist, Dr. Larry Bronstein, whose office was in a Trump-owned building. His daughters later admitted their father wrote the diagnosis as a favor to Fred Trump. There were no x-rays, no medical records, no treatment, just one letter slipped into the system, and Donald Trump avoided Vietnam while others his age were drafted. Later in life, he would joke that avoiding sexually transmitted diseases was his personal Vietnam. That one line shows how little he respected the sacrifice of those who actually served. Fred also taught Donald how to run a business, not with innovation, but with intimidation. Contractors who built Trump projects were stiffed or underpaid. Suing was pointless. Fred had the lawyers and the deep pockets to outlast them. The lesson was simple. In Trump world, a deal only mattered if it benefits you. Donald absorbed this completely. This wasn't entrepreneurship. It was exploitation, inherited like everything else. By the 1970s, Fred began steering Donald toward Manhattan real estate. Fred's money and guarantees backed the loans. Donald's name and ego would be plastered on the skyscrapers. From the start, Donald's empire wasn't his. It was Fred's fortune and Fred's playbook, dressed up as Donald's achievement. This was Donald Trump's first step on the New York stage, where glitz, casinos, and skyscrapers would follow, and with them, catastrophic failures. So across 3 generations, the Trump legacy was clear. A grandfather who dodged Germany's draft and made money in brothels. A father who skipped World War II service while profiting off government subsidies. And a son who dodged Vietnam with a fake medical letter. This wasn't the American dream. It was a family tradition of privilege, exploitation, and power at all costs. Next time, in episode 3, we'll follow Donald as he builds his empire and watch it all begin to collapse.